Dear friends, I call you a friend because we are friends on this journey. Let's call ourselves cardiac friends, and maybe we can call ourselves cardiac conquerors because we are trying to conquer something that's really very a huge interruption in our lives. I want to really congratulate you for having the courage to go through this program. I can make very high promises, but I want to promise this, that I will do my best to help you to process this whole procedure that is ahead of you in the most positive manner, and that you will gain not only calmness, but that this can be a remarkable transformation in your life if you give yourself the full chance to it. So I want to show you a little picture just to explain something of where you are right now and where I found myself when I heard that I have to go through this major invasive surgery, whether it's in your case a valve replacement or a double or a triple or quadruple bypass, no matter what it is, but you have to go through a heart surgery. And if you look at this picture, you will see that it actually says, you're busy moving out of your comfort zone towards a growth zone. But between the comfort zone and the growth zone, there's a fear zone and a learning zone. The comfort zone is the zone where you feel comfortable in, and you are safe and things are going the way that you're used to it. The normal zone, you can call it. But now you've moved out of the comfort zone to your fear zone. Suddenly you've heard that you are going through, you are going to face a major operation. And so this can bring you to a place of lack of self-confidence where you realize, listen, my body isn't what I thought it is. You can find all kinds of excuses why this happened to you. You can be affected by other people's opinions. I know shortly before my operation, I got this call and somebody said, why don't you just go on a diet? Or why don't you just try something less invasive? And people will say things like that, and that actually just take you to the next level of fear. But the fear zone is a normal zone to be in. It's your stress zone where you realize, listen, I have to face this thing. The third zone is actually the learning zone. That's where you open up yourself to move out of the comfort zone, to learn a few lessons, to ask some questions. How do I cope with this? You are open to new skills. You are more open to deal with the challenges and the problems that are coming with this challenge in your life. And the learning zone it's quite an important zone for you to be in. And then the fourth zone, where we actually want to progress towards, that's the growth zone. That's when you actually set some goals. I want to not only get back to normal, but I want to achieve a few things still in my life. I have a few dreams. I've got some purposes in my life that I want to live up to, and I want to realize some of my aspirations. And the whole purpose of this program is to help you to move from the comfort zone through the fear zone and through the learning zone towards the growth zone, where you can dream again. Every setback in our lives can actually bring you to a comeback. Every breakdown can become a breakthrough. I believe that with life's setbacks and with its calamities and its interruptions, there are huge gifts that we can either just leave unwrapped, or we can go and we can just leave them wrapped, or we can go and unwrap them and discover the gifts that are in those wrapping paper. And there are some things for you to discover, to go and taste and go and appreciate again. This interruption in your life has brought you to a bit of a standstill, a bit of a pause in life, to reset yourself and to prepare yourself for what's lying ahead of you. And then not only the operation or the surgery, but also what's lying beyond the surgery, so that you can give yourself the best possible chance on life. Going through this process will definitely give you an opportunity to reap some huge benefits, and I want to make that possible for all of us. So one of the benefits is that if you prepare yourself well, you actually strengthen your immunity system. Instead of secreting cortisol and adrenaline, the fear and stress hormones into your body, you will be able to secrete more endorphins and serotonins. And instead of being in your sympathetic system, your readiness system, where you are prepared for something that can go wrong, for threats, you will be more in your parasympathetic system, which is more an open system, open to what can be good and great in this situation, where you are more cooperative, more creative, and where you are calmer, and your mind is not only focused and fixated on this one big threat, but your mind is open to so many other great things that can come with this procedure. If you prepare yourself, you can be a better patient, you can be more cooperative with the medical staff, you can also be a better person to be with. You know, when we go through a process like this and we stress, we can be quite difficult because all our triggers are being pulled. But if you can be more relaxed and calmer and be more open and be more ready for this process, you can be a much more loving person. You can also, when you are more prepared for this process, you can also prepare for what's going to happen directly after the operation, the ICU and the recovery process. And you can also take some time to set some goals and to dream some dreams. What are they still in your life that you want to achieve? What are those things that you've set aside and you've actually forgotten about them? You've forgotten about parts of who you really are. Maybe you can just reclaim some of those things. This is definitely an opportunity to take back some of those lost aspects of your life and to make life even better. So I believe that this procedure can bring so many gifts, so much enrichment to your life if you give yourself the chance towards it. So let me start off by showing you this a very I think it's a quite an informative slide. If you can look at this thing, Stephen Covey actually used this. He said, you know, when we have a situation, a circumstance or a difficulty or a conflict or something that you fear, that you can call a stimulus. And normally people just move from the stimulus directly to the response. So it's stimulus and response, and we don't really think, you know, how do we want to respond? So actually stimulus and response actually moves very closely to each other, and it becomes actually one movement. But what Stephen Covey actually lifted out and pointed out so beautifully, he said, you know, between the stimulus and the response, there's a space. And that space you can call choice. That's your power of choice, your freedom to decide how you will actually respond to this stimulus, to this situation that you are in. So let's apply this to the situation that you are in right now. You have heard that you have to go through this procedure. It's maybe your bypass operation or a valve replacement or whatever the procedure is, but it's a hard procedure that you have to go through. So you can move directly from that to a response of fear or of negativity or self-pity or putting yourself in victim mode. And that won't really be very, very helpful. Often that happens because we don't take the time between the stimulus and the response to ask ourselves, what is really happening with me? And what are my options? How can I move from the one to the other one? I also want to show you just a quick second slide. That's actually quite informative as well. What Stephen Covey said is that between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So I want to help you and encourage you to take this space, to make use of this space, and and just allow yourself to rethink where you are, and to make your choice and make your decisions, how you will actually prepare yourself for this operation and what you want out of it. If you look at this process, you can see, this slide, you can see it says there that between stimulus and response, there's the freedom to choose, but there are some human gifts that we have. One of those gifts are a sense of self-awareness. We just become aware, I am stressing, or there's a bit of fear there, or there's a bit of excitement of what I can experience on the other side. Just become aware of your thinking, of your breathing. Become aware of the kind of life that you had been living. Maybe a very fast pace. Maybe you didn't look after yourself so well, or maybe just an awareness that I've done everything right. But this is now where I am. It's my genes, and I can't help it. But I can definitely choose how I will respond to the situation. There's also your imagination. You can use your imagination just to imagine the kind of life that you want to live. You can also use your conscience. Your conscience is your value system. And to say, listen, I'm going to allow my value system to kick in here. I believe in this, I believe in this person, or I believe in these values of life. And let those things just surface again and use it to your own benefit. And then, of course, you've got your own independent will. You can say, I can use my will. What do I want to create? I can create something out of this. And in that process, you actually just take your power of choice to a next level. This picture has always been very meaningful to me. This is from Stephen Covey. He said you've got a circle of control, or a circle of influence, you can call that. And then you've got a much bigger circle. That's your circle of concern. You can also call that your worry circle. Those things that you are concerned about. And the fact is, we can do very little about the circle of concern. There are so many things that you can be concerned about. You can now be concerned about, the doctors, can they do their job, about the medical science. You can be concerned about the hospital and the hospital's budget and all those things. You can be concerned about the medical fund and many other things. Or you can be concerned about politics, and you can be concerned about what will happen in 5 years' time. There are so many things that you have no control over. Or you can say, listen, let me take control over the controllables, over the smaller circle. And let me ask myself, what are those things that I can do something about to make my life better? And that's what I would like to encourage you, to take control over those things. When we do that, we reposition ourselves from being victims and feeling powerless to really empowering ourselves and taking full responsibility for ourselves. If you can look at this picture there, you will see right at the bottom, there's this bottom step on this ladder, which I call being unaware. You can also call it ignoring. So some of us choose to ignore what is happening to us. We just put on some blinkers, and we blink out everything else, and we don't want to see those things because we don't want to face life. But it's not working. As you know, if you are unaware of things that are realities, they are still there. Whether you ignore them or not, it's still there. So being unaware of what is happening to you, trying to ignore the process, trying to ignore the facts, will not be very helpful. The next step on this ladder, where we still stay in the victim mode, is to blame others. We can say, it's because of my parents, it's because the way that they taught me to eat, it's because they never encouraged me to train, or it's because of my genes and because I inherited these genes from them, and so on. But often we realize, it doesn't help to be unaware. It doesn't help to make to blame others. But then we go to the third step on this ladder, and then that's when we start making excuses. Yeah, we realize we cannot blame others, but now we say, listen, but I really couldn't help it. I cannot help being so powerless, or I couldn't help eating wrongly, or I feel so sorry for myself, but I've got so many excuses where I am where I am. And, and I don't know what excuses we can think about. I know that when I am late for something, I come up with the most creative excuses why I am doing what I'm doing. So to take full responsibility for your current behavior and your response to the news that you got is really very important. But often we make excuses. You say, no, I'm just an aggressive person. Or I am just that kind of person that wants to analyze everything, and if I cannot understand everything, I will stay unhappy. Or I'm just a very pessimistic, negative person, and this is how I am, and I can't help it. I blame it on my personality, and and it's because life has treated me so badly for so many years, and so you make excuses for the way that you behave, and let's just face it, if you make excuses for your behavior, that's actually very immature behavior that we often do, and I am an expert in that. So the fourth step on this ladder is when you choose just to wait and hope. You do nothing. You just a passive passenger in this process. You just go through everything that's happening to you, and you see life as something that happens to you, and you have no creative powers, and you just stay a victim and a passenger in this whole process. As you can see, those 4 steps on the ladder are really not very helpful to bring us to a better place. The sad thing is that most people are actually functioning below this baseline. They are under this baseline where they disempower themselves, where they are in victim mode, where they imprison themselves with so many negative thoughts or passivity, and they're not really helping themselves to cope with life. But a better way to cope with life, and I think you have probably now seen the 4 steps in the top part of the ladder. The first one there is to acknowledge reality. In other words, to face reality. It is what it is. I've asked one of my cardiac friends, so what was really helpful to him when he heard the news that he had to go through his valve replacement? And he said, Johan, I just came to a very quick resolution. I have realized it is what it is. I have to trust the team, the medical team. I have to make peace with this whole thing. It is happening to me, and it is for the good. So let me face it and acknowledge it. It is what it is. And if you listen to him, you'll see that this man has already gone to the second step of the top 4 steps. He has already owned his situation. Yeah, nobody else is going to take care of me. I have to take care of me. And I have to own this thing. This is my body. This is happening to me. And I have to own my emotions. I have to own my coping mechanisms. I have to own the words that come out of my mouth, things that I speak over myself and speak over life. I have to own it. This is me reacting or responding to this situation. The third step of on the top 4 steps is actually finding solutions. Is asking yourself, okay, this is my heart condition. I'm owning it. So what are my options? And I think for most of us as cardiac patients, the doctor doesn't really give us so many options. He will tell you, listen, you can do this or this or this. You can wait for a while. You can try other things. But most of us have heard the news that you have to go through an operation, some surgery. And so the best thing is to realize, listen, let me go through this. Let's fix it. let's go for the operation, and let's not run away from it anymore. It is what it is, and we take full responsibility, and we're facing it not as victims, but as victors. We choose not to be victims, but we choose to be victorious. We choose not to only focus on it as a threat, but to also to see that we can actually triumph through it, and we can get through this process, and we can be better off on the other side. What we call this principle is proactivity. This is the first habit of the 7 habits of highly effective people. It's the habit of proactivity, of taking full responsibility, of making full use of your power of choice. And ask yourself, what are my choices? Not only, whether you will go for the procedure, the surgery or not, but what are my choices in terms of my emotionality? How do I choose to react to this emotionally? Do I choose to panic? Do I choose to be anxious? Do I choose to blame, or to pity myself, or to go through a very intense process of analysis paralysis, and or to negotiate myself, try to negotiate myself out of this? Or do I choose to make peace with the fact that this thing has happened to me? Not to somebody else, it has happened to me, and I have to face it. But I can do it. I've got all the mental capacity to look this thing in the eye and to say, listen, I know that I can get through it, through this, and I can triumph. They say that these operations that people like us are going through have a success ratio of 98-99%. So your chances to triumph is actually fantastic. Much better to go through a process like this than going through something like, for instance, cancer, or being diagnosed with Parkinson's, or any other disease. So although this is a very invasive surgery that you have to go through, it's also a surgery with a fantastic success rate. And it's important for us to remind ourselves of that, and to remind ourselves, listen, I am not a victim, but I can really be victorious in this. When we think about a process like this, we are actually busy managing change. And if you have listened to my promo video, you would have picked up that I've said there that my background is industrial psychology, business psychology, you can call it also. And I'm an executive coach, and my everyday work is to help leaders and teams and organizations to go through processes of change. We are living in a world where change is happening every day, and it's hard for us to cope with change. And it's no wonder that there are so many models of change, so many theories of change. But one of the models that I've found really very useful is a model of Otto Scharmer. Otto Scharmer is using what he calls a U theory, or theory U. And he says, going through a process of change is not a linear process. We don't travel from point A to point B to point C to point D to E and end, at the end of the journey, maybe at Z. No, it's a much different process. And one way, and some people say that it's going like this, zigzag, and it's up and down and so on. But I think the way that he explains it is quite helpful. So let me just explain this in a very simple way to you, and maybe you can just take a few lessons from it and use it in your own life. So he says there are, he calls it theory U, as you can see on the picture there. It's going through a U curve. So we start on the left upper corner, and then we go right through until we end to the right, to the upper right. But there are some processes. Our minds are involved in this. Our hearts are involved in this, and also our will. So, and he says, there are these 3 voices because of our minds and our hearts and our will. There are these 3 voices that come up and can make life really very difficult for us, to go through this process of change. The first voice is the voice of judgment. That's when we say, these doctors, they just want to make money, and I don't know why I have to go through this. And you reason this thing, and you've got so many thinking processes that you go through, and you are pessimistic and negative and criticizing and so on, and you actually resist the process that you have to go through in a very mental way, and you think in a way that's really not very helpful. The second voice is the voice of fear. That's the voice that comes from your heart, where you actually go in a panicky mode, and where you resist it more from an emotional point of view, and where you stress and fear, and you are afraid of this thing. And it's just important for us to acknowledge that voice. There is a voice of fear. I've been there, you've been there. The voice of fear is a very realistic voice, and it's supposed to help us not to be stupid in life, not to go through things that we don't have to go through. But we're not in the jungle anymore. We are in a very modern society, and going through a procedure like this isn't something that you can run away from or something that you can fight. We used to go through a fight, flight, or hide mode when we were in the jungle many millions of years ago. But we're not there anymore. We're now living in a modern society where fight, flight, and hide, or fight, flight, and freeze don't help us anymore, where it's far better to face it and to go through it in a more mature way. The other voice is the voice of cynicism. That's the voice that connects to our will, where we, in a very cynical way, ask questions like, will this really help? Will this not just cause me a lot of pain and a lot of difficulty and a lot of sacrifice, and on the end, what will I get from this? That's when the cynical voice comes in, and it makes it difficult for you to get your will around this thing. For us to go through this process, it's important to talk to yourself, to get your mind right, to choose to think positive thoughts, to be grateful that you can have this opportunity, that in a way you can financially make it possible, that you and also to choose to harbor the best emotions that you can, emotions of love and gratitude and thankfulness and forgiveness and happiness and peace and grace, and appreciation for the fact that you can go through this thing. And then instead of the voice of cynicism, just to embrace this thing, and to see the possibilities and the probabilities and the potential that this thing can bring to you, to see the gift of it, and again to choose to be grateful and thankful for it. If we can go back to the picture, you will see on the top, on the bottom, there's a place that you have to go through, and we call this bottom of the U curve. We call it the eye of the needle. You cannot go through that needle with everything, all the baggage that you have right now. In order to go through this needle, you have to let go of some things, and you have to open up yourself to let come. Every time we go through a process, we have to let go of our old thinking, our old habits, our old comfort zones, in order to open up ourselves for a new normal. Most of you are very informed about COVID-19, and how we used to think and how life normally used to be is not what life is going to be in the future. We have to let go of some of our thinking, some of our habits, some of the way that we used to operate in order to let come a new life where we have to be more cautious, where we have to keep our distance, where we have to connect with each other in a different way. So, when we go through a process of change like we have gone as a world with COVID-19, there's an eye of the needle that you have to go through when you have to let go to let come. And now, if I can apply this principle to you as a cardiac, what shall I call you? Not a cardiac patient, because I don't actually want to use that word, but as somebody who's in a cardiac journey. a traveler. Let me call it, you can call you a cardiac traveler. You have to let go of something to let come of something. You have to let go of a comfort zone. You have to let go of your thinking about yourself, that life is supposed to be just a very happy place forever. And to say, listen, sometimes we have to face real hardship and some real tough issues in order to let come a better life with more health, a life that can be more meaningful, a life where things might be quite different, but maybe much better, where you can redefine the meaning of life and your purpose, and where you can review your dreams and your aspirations and the impact that you make on life. So there are some things that you have to let go in order to let come. One thing that you will have to let go is your sense of independence. Because when you wake up in the ICU, you will have to accept the fact that you have to allow people to take care of you. And after your few days in hospital and they have released you to go home, you have to accept the fact that at home you will need people to help you, to take care of you, and to advise you. That's something that you have to let come. But there's a huge blessing in that. To be on the receiving side of other people's love. It's such a huge blessing. And I would like to encourage you to open up yourself, to let come that part of life. Again, if we can go back to this theory, you will see on the other side of the curve, there are prototypes. There are people, and I'm one of those, who have gone through the process. I've been through the eye of the needle. I am not 100% healthy again, but I am in the process of recovery. I can walk again, run a little bit, cycle again. This is now 2.5 months after my operation, and life is getting better. And there are many, many other examples of people who went through this process. Some of them now 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and some of them 20 and 25 years, and even 30 years after their cardiac procedure. And just to see those prototypes of people being healthy. The other day I've heard about a man who just did the Ironman competition. I don't know whether you know what the Ironman is. It's swimming for 4 kilometers, then cycling for 180 kilometers, and then after that going into a full marathon of 42.2 kilometers running. All of that in one day. That man did all of that after his cardiac procedure. Now, I'm just telling myself, if he can do that, at least, there's some life after the cardiac surgery. So there are many, many examples of people who have done great things after their heart surgery. And to see those prototypes, those examples, those encourages that actually encourage you to go through this thing and be hopeful in this, is really very helpful. If we can open up ourselves to be transformed by this process can be a fantastic thing for you. And I would like to encourage you, make use of this. Don't let this gift of life just go by unused. Don't let this gift go by still wrapped, but unwrap it and see what's in it and discover what you can discover and receive everything that you can receive in this process. I want to end with a short assignment that I want you to do, and you will see this in your notes. You can download this resource. So I call this the positive intent exercise. I got this from a person by the name of Joe Dispenza, a neuroscientist, and he has used it in a very helpful way. I've adjusted it a little bit. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to ask yourself, what is my positive intent? What do I really want in this process? And what is this process? What can you call this process? So I call this process for myself emotional preparation for cardiac surgery. I decided that I want to be emotionally prepared for my cardiac surgery. And this is the thing that I've written down right in the middle, right at the top. You can reword this use your own words. And then to the left, you will see the question there, what are the positive outcomes that you would like in this process? And for me, the positive outcomes were physical wellness and good relationships, to be seen as a cooperative patient. It's to have open communications with the doctor and the nursing staff, and to have the best possible chance on success. Those were my outcomes, my goals that I've set myself out. This is what I want to achieve as outcomes of my preparation process. Just practical outcomes. Just write down those things. You can see mine there, but go and write your own. What's very important to us to make this thing feel much more real is to write down what are the emotions that you would like to go with it. So what are your emotions that you would like, how would you like to feel in this preparation process? So for myself, I made it very practical. So firstly, I want to have a sense of gratefulness, to be grateful that I have another opportunity, another chance on life. And then also I would like to feel love and friendliness. I would like to feel the love of other people, but also to project love to them and to be a friendly person and to feel the friendliness. And then thirdly, also to have a sense of hope, to be hopeful in this process, optimism. I would like that to be part of my emotional journey with this. And then fourthly, I would like to have clarity. Clarity is also an emotion. If you feel that things are clear and you can see it for what it is, it's so much easier, as opposed to confusion. I don't want to feel confused when I go through a process of this like this. In the fifth place, also a sense of calmness and courage and confidence. So those emotions I've set out for myself, that's what I would like to feel. And I've really, when I envision these things, I've seen the outcomes, and that I would open up my heart to feel those emotions and invite those emotions into my heart. To be able to experience this, you must have a certain mindset. And the mindset that's necessary here is a mindset, in my case, it was a mindset of positive expectation, to expect health and life. I decided to go into this with this expectation in my life. But secondly, I decided to go into this with a solution and outcome focused mindset. I'm not going to focus on what can go wrong. I'm not going to focus on the pain and the threats and all those things. I'm not going to focus on all the medical stuff. I'm going to focus that I am going to ride my bicycle again. I'm going to run again. I'm going to be able to hike the mountains. I'm going to be able to do my work again. So I'm going to focus. I'm going to be solution and outcome focused, not problem focused. And then thirdly, I decided to have a trusting mindset. I'm going to trust the medical team. I'm going to trust the doctor. I'm going to show them that I'm putting my trust in them. I'm going to trust the nursing team in ICU, and I'm going to make it easy for them to work with me. And then the last thing that you have to do is just to say, what will be the driving values in this process? Of course, we have many values in our lives that are important to us, but what will be the values that will be important in your life? For me, it was quite simple. For me, walking with God, to be on a journey with God, not to do things for God or to try to honor Him only, but to walk with God, to hold His hand and to be on this journey in His presence, and Him with me and I with Him was very important. The second very important value was to appreciate life again. I chose that life is so valuable, and I have an appreciation of life. And this is a very important value. Life is precious. Life is valuable. and I'm going to appreciate life. And the last one was love, to love myself and love others. I'm going to let my love for myself, my love for life, my love for other people really direct my mindset and my attitude, but also my behavior in this whole process. So what I've done, I've used this is like a mind map or a mind chart or a mind movie, whatever you want to call it. I've written this down, and I've started to integrate this into my whole system. Meditating about this, seeing myself operating like this. This is me right now, preparing for my heart surgery. And so you're resetting yourself by doing this exercise. And friends, if this is the only thing that you get from today, and the only thing that you get through from this whole program that I'm doing with you, you've already gained a lot. So I want to encourage you, please go and do this thing and give yourself the best possible chance to be prepared for this process, and to go through this process in the easiest possible way that you can go through it. Things will go well with you. You are not alone. You've got so many people taking care of you. You are so blessed that you have been diagnosed and that you have a chance on life. May you really open up your heart and open up your life and embrace this. And may this be a very successful, wonderful process that you are in. In my next module, I will talk to you about your belief system, what beliefs are helpful and what are not helpful. I've touched on that here and there in this talk, but be prepared to think about your belief system and the beliefs that other people maybe have shared with you. That's not very helpful. Or some beliefs that people did share with you that are quite helpful. But your belief system is very, very important. And, you can choose what your belief system is, or, you can just allow the old belief system to carry you through. And maybe that's not very helpful. Or maybe it is. And maybe you can just reaffirm that belief system, and just to make sure that you're actually going to live by that belief system that has always worked for you. But be open to that. And I promise, if you use this, it will be helpful, and it will be a great process for you. See you in the next module.